should do this.
All right, guys, this is Hunter's Hangout. We are live, and this is the last episode, not the last season. I did that last year, and we're here with Rich and Eric, and we're gonna do the prizes real fast. There's a lot of prizes to do, so we're gonna do that real fast, and then we're gonna hand it over to Jackie. Let me do this shit. I'm not used to doing this shit. All right. Okay, here we go. First of all, we got Face Factory Effects. We have a monster mask. Then we have Fright Props. We have a clown mask. We have Sinful Audio, sounds, effects in haunted house and escape rooms. We have Froggy's Fog, 1 gallon of bog juice. We have Sam Haynes, Something Wicked, sounds of horror in Halloween. Okay, now the extra prizes that we are going to have is Sneaky Fingers 2 from Evil Olive Prop Shop. We have from Rotten Pumpkin Mask and Props, we have a clown mask. We have Abraham mask from David Ace's Faces. We have a graphic package that includes 1 logo design and a 2x6 outdoor banner from DBG Graphics, keeping horror alive 1 graphic at a time. And we have Morbid Bears from Morbid Entertainment. Whew, damn, got through that.
That's a lot.
I know.
That's awesome.
Okay, we got through that. We're going to hand it over to Jackie. We're going to get it started.
All right, tonight we have Eric Lowther from Haunted Overload in Lee, New Hampshire. And Richard Teachout from 7th Street Haunt and Asylum Haunted Scream Park in Louisville, Kentucky. So let's start with Eric. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your haunt.
Well, it's in Lee, New Hampshire. I started off in my hometown of Exeter, New Hampshire. I, have been doing this, growing up. I always loved Halloween and I always would put on small yard displays everywhere I went, my parents' house, grandparents, friends, family. And then when I bought my own house in '99, I started off with a small display and then wanted to have a giant Halloween party. So I wanted to create something really enormous for that. So I wanted to try a 20-foot scarecrow. So I, designed this thing and made a little mock-up of it. It's funny as hell because I still have this thing. This is the original. I don't know if you can see that. The original mock-up of this, the first 20-foot scarecrow monster, right? It had pumpkin vines hanging all down it and everything. And so, the party went off without a hitch, but I knew I had to hit on something kind of special when people were, slamming on their brakes in front of my house and everything, looking at this giant monster. So, each year after that, I wanted to try and, top myself and go bigger and higher and taller because I had a very, very small yard. So to make things impressive, I needed to build up and set them up. So I would, over the years, I would have, construction companies come and sink telephone poles in my yard and build these huge monsters and then, create a walkthrough. And then after a while, I turned it into a fundraiser for the animal shelter. And, that enabled me to do a 50-50 split and fund this thing because I was spending thousands of dollars on, all these materials to get, better and everything. But in 2005, I think I went to my first Transworld in Chicago and I'm like, the crowds were getting so big for the neighborhood that I'm like, I only have 2 choices, either to stop altogether or to attempt to make a business out of it. So I went to Transworld and took a bunch of seminars and then in 2000 and did it 1 more year at my house and knowing that was going to be the last year, either I was going to attempt to move it off to another property or it was going to be finished because there was just way too many people for the neighborhood. So we were able to find a farm and go to there for 3 years and just killed ourselves building and learning, just as we went, just starting small and, with a very extremely small budget and just, learning each year and improving on every aspect each year. And but then after we did it there 3 years, we ran into like agricultural easement issues at that farm and everything, small town politics. So it was pretty heartbreaking to have to leave that property because we had sunk so much time and effort, and it was finally running really smooth. And then to have to start over again, and then people have already built up this expectation of 3 years of hard work, and then we were starting from scratch, with only 6 months to build an entire new attraction in the woods, was a pretty damn daunting task, but we pulled it off. And so we've been at the Demerit Hill Farm since 2010, and so we're coming into it's actually going to be our 11th performance. I start the clock at in 2007, so it's our 10-year anniversary out of the front yard. So we're pretty excited about that because everything's running really smooth now. We've worked out all the kinks. We change it around each year, quite a bit. I sink a ton of money back into it. We give the animal shelter 10% right off the top of gross proceeds, so everybody can get behind that cause. And it's a massive creative outlet for all of us, the actors, the builders, everything. And we always want to try and top ourselves and do something different and creative and unique that hasn't been done before. So that's always a challenge and fun to try and pull off each year.
Yeah, that's why I was telling you earlier that's the only part I hate about your haunt is I can't copy it. Your shit's just too big, man. It's like,
well, yeah, that's totally by design. Some of these things that we built, when we were building it, we said numerous times, I'm like, this is going to be almost impossible to copy because we can, this is something.
So you did it on purpose,
right?
You did it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, some of my earlier stuff, we started off small with a very small budget, so a lot of that earlier stuff was easy to copy. But as we got a better budget, and could sink some money into some serious, beams and wood, we set to making these crazy designs that would be pretty damn hard to copy.
Awesome, Richard. How about you?
Well, so my girlfriend and I, we started the haunt, we'd been kind of toying with the idea for years of going a pro haunt. We've been home haunters, and Halloween was kind of the one holiday a year we've been celebrating for as long as either one of us could remember. And before we decided to go start our own haunt, we came to the location we're at, where Asylum is now, and they had a small attraction here, and it was good. It wasn't what we thought it ought to be or what it could be. And so that was 2010, and we worked at it that year. And by 2011, we'd gone to our partner now, Kenny, and said, let's turn this into something amazing, and became the Asylum Haunted Scream Park. We grew from one small attraction to 5 attractions now. We had 4 that year. We're at 5 now. And we're across 42 acres. So one of our haunted trails is about 3/4 of a mile long.
Dang.
And yeah, most of the year it's full of paintballers running around shooting everything they can. So we actually, 3 weeks before the haunt opens, have to basically pop up that entire haunt, get everything out of storage. Everything has to be pre-built and moved into the woods and built. The other attractions luckily don't have as much pain. But we just kind of, we're big fans of go big or go home. And so going big for us was 42 acres. And it's now grown from, at the time we were doing, 5,000 and 6,000 people through, because there was a base to start with, and we're pretty good at the marketing side and really going guerrilla marketing. We're big on that. To we're almost 40,000 tickets now between all the attractions we have. Last year, we became partners in another haunt called 7th Street Haunt, and we're now extremely active in that. We grew their business by 50% or something last year. And it's a 25,000 square foot indoor. So there's 2 attractions inside one monstrous warehouse. We're already looking at expanding from there and putting another 25,000 square foot into it in the next year or 2.
Right. I gotta know, how do you do like that many haunts and then do Asylum props too? How's that?
Well, so not only do we do Asylum props, I also have a day job.
Oh God.
Wow.
So I basically get about 5 hours of sleep every night. That's how I survive. Every few weeks, Sunday I crash and nobody talks to me. first hour of any given day is someone hands me coffee so they can talk to me. But the prop company, you know, grew out of necessity because we were building so much. We had more space than money because we killed our whole budget and then some trying to get the place going. You know, every bit of life savings and every credit card was maxed. We had to build stuff. So the prop company kind of started then, and a couple of years later it grew into, wow, we've got enough molds and things. I'll bet other people need these. And so we started growing out. The prop company's got a bunch of full-time staff. We've got incredible crews. Without the people on our teams, we couldn't do what we do. You know, both locations have an incredible crew of people that are building year-round. You know, and at Asylum, because we're outdoor, in the middle of December and January, we can't really build much because it's snowing. So we're over at 7th Street building ungodly amounts of things. You know, we put a whole new 12,000 square foot attraction in this year, you know, and swap one whole attraction out. So that's going to be awesome. You get the people coming on the MHC tour are going to see one of the 2 attractions and kind of a in-process second one. We've converted everything there to 12 volt and all new sound and lighting systems. And I'll do some videos and show you guys some of that sometime soon. But so really, I don't sleep much. Most of my crew pretty much, they joke all the time that they think I'm a robot because I walk in the room and I'm kind of don't anybody sit around. This is rough for me sitting for 2 hours and doing this and not doing something.
Right. I mean, it was hard. It was hard enough trying to get a hold of you.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, can I get the pictures? Like, yeah, no, maybe. Yeah. Oh shit. You know. And then all you like, then you're like, I'm here. I'm here.
I didn't go away.
Right. You know, and it what everybody knows is like Richard also does like live tutorials on the Hangout all the time, which we appreciate because, you know, everybody's got to learn. We love it. Yep. He's got a lot more stuff coming too. We learned a huge amount from Alan Hops and from watching pretty much every video we could get our hands on in 2010, 2011, and kind of using our theater background and, you know, a movie background and TV background. That's kind of how we built our crews. Right. I mean, that's how I started out, like watching Alan. Yeah. Like, how can one person know so much little stuff? You know, so much stuff. You know, it's like it's amazing.
Yeah. So we're trying to give it back to the community and help. You know, what got us going was watching all that and watching YouTube videos and watching DVDs. And so, how can I give some back?
It's awesome.
Very awesome. All right, Kathy. I know we have a lot of questions out there.
Oh my gosh, we have so many questions
it's
tonight.
Awesome.
We even have, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. Okay, let's see. I have a marriage proposal for Eric. Scary Mary would like to know if you would marry her.
Of course.
She has a question for Eric. When you had your home hunt, were your neighbors supportive of what you were doing? Do you still live in that same house?
Yeah, I still live in the same house, and yeah, they were very supportive. We were, you know, running chainsaws up and down the street, and the street was blocked off and everything. But you know, they, you know, I couldn't ask for better neighbors. You know, it got a little toward the end. It got a little bit, you know, like a little bit too much because people were coming in to the neighborhood all hours of the day and night, just driving by the house, you know, and so that got a little bit too much. So, you know, just out of courtesy, I had to get it the hell out of there, you know, because it was at a certain point, something was going to happen. It was going to get, you know, shut down, or people start complaining, or, you know, people were busing in, you know, people from all over the place. My neighbors would run out of, you know, Halloween candy in like 5 minutes because, you know, bands of kids would get out and, you know, come to our house and then trick or treat all around the area. So it was pretty funny toward the end, but it had definitely run its course by the time I finished.
Right.
Right.
Anthony Lordigan would like to know, Eric, does anybody help you with the hunt? I mean, when you're open?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have between, it fluctuates anywhere from 50 to 80 volunteers. Since we do it for the animal shelter, all the volunteers are, you know, volunteering for that cause because we have a contract with them to give them the 10% off the top. So we attract a lot of passionate people to build and act and, you know, even park cars at the location. So all year long, I'm recruiting, you know, because people, you know, there's a core crew, and then there's some turnover because people go to college or they get pregnant or skip a year or two or whatever. So we always have to turn over, and I love that the new people come in because everything's all new to them, and we have a big wrap party at the end for all the volunteers, to celebrate. So it's a really fun time.
What about the big structure people? You got to have a core group of that, because I know you're not going to let somebody get way up on top with a chainsaw on the rope.
There's only a core of me and like 2 or 3 other people that just tackle those types of things. And then, we need help with a lot of other, getting the trails ready and a lot of other different things. But yeah, the main build crew is only a couple people. That's why we spread out the work all through, as soon as the snow melts, because we chip away at it. If we say we're going to build these, 3 things and demolish this thing, it takes us all season because we can only work on it, Saturdays and, a little bit. Actually, this is my build night. I usually go over there after work. It takes me a half an hour to get over there, and then, work for a few hours and then come back Tuesdays and Thursdays and then Saturdays. That's pretty much what we work on it. And then as the crunch time comes, then we'll be over there a lot more as needed. But yeah, so we have to spread the work out all season because we only can, it's not like we have a dedicated crew there, 24/7 building.
Right.
Richard, tell us about your staff and how many you have and all
So
that good stuff.
at Asylum, we've got about 150. At 7th Street, we're right about 100. During season, our entire staff is paid. At least the people that are working every night, and for the whole season, we get some volunteers, and we'll have 20 or 30 volunteers on some nights. They're just coming in for 1 night or 2 nights to volunteer and see what it's all about. But otherwise we pay everyone we have to do, which of course means a lot of them make more than I do at the end of it. But we prefer to be paid. So the 150 crew is really cast stand crew. So it takes, let's see, between both locations, I've got 8 stage managers.
Wow.
One or 2 of them at each attraction, like Darkness Falls, which is 3/4 mile long, takes 2 stage managers because it takes almost 45 minutes for one to get through. And we like to touch every one of our actors at least 2 or 3 times an hour. And feed and water them is what we kind of joke and call it. Making sure none of them are passing out, making sure everyone's got water, help them with the scenes if they're new people, help with the scares, fix anything that might be broken from some dumb customer. So it takes 8 stage managers to work it. Between both haunts, we've got 9 makeup crew. There's 4 in costumes. So we've got literally the equivalent of 2 40-foot Connex pods full of nothing but costumes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of costume.
How do you find that many people? Where do you find them? How do you get the word out that you're hiring and
How do you even get to that point?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how we got to that point. It kind of happened. We do a lot of recruiting with a lot of people. We go to do job fairs. I post a lot. I'm good in social media, so I've worked very hard in finding people that way in schools and friends of friends. And this will kind of scare a whole lot of you. 40% of our crews change over every year.
All right. Do you ever like look for hunters? Because there's like career hunters that go from hunt to hunt. Do you guys actually look for people like that?
The reality is no. We're very big, and we've worked really hard in our town of Louisville because there's a lot of haunts in Louisville. And Louisville is actually the 16th largest city in the U.S. So we have a large population. It's just not a huge downtown, right? It's more spread out. But we are very much anti-poaching. So I don't like stealing hunters from other haunts. The traveling hunters are really hard to fit our style because they have their own styles. A lot of the traveling hunters that come and go work our line entertainment, but not so much in our scenes because we're so unique. We're an actor-driven haunt. So like I say, Eric, I've drooled about his stuff at Haunted Overload for years because our haunts, we don't have the ability to build some of those things. When you only have a 15-foot ceiling, or I'm going to have 400 paintballers on a weekend shooting up the middle of the woods, I can't build these things that take months to build. So although we have a lot of props and we have a lot of great scenes, we're very much driven by our actors. So we put a lot of actor training time in and teach them how to scare Because I can paint the room black and put 3 killer actors in it, and you're still going to pee yourself, regardless of how good the scene is.
Right.
No can do Eric shit in like and he'll build his stuff in like a week. He'd be like, we were short in time and I built it in a whole week, man. I have a chainsaw and a hammer. I'm like, what? Get out of here, man.
Nate Dingman
We do a lot
has
of strange stuff.
Sorry.
Nate Dingman has a question for you, Richard. What, with that much acreage, how do you control your actors and crowd control?
So the stage managers do a lot of that. The actors are passionate because of training, and they know what they're expected of them to do. The stage managers are constantly. We have roaming actors that are kind of giving breaks to people who need to pee. And we've got 6 security. We actually do armed security, not because we ever need it, because it helps cut down on the drunks and the problems before they ever get to be a problem. So they're roaming through, everything as well. So really, we've got the paths. Our paths are set, so it's not wide open paths in the woods. It's tough to get off the path. So crowd control is line queuing, and stage managers are helping keep the actors in check. And if the actor's running behind the building trying to smoke pot, then he's fired. See you, bye. No drugs, no alcohol to our crew. And everyone just wants to scare. I mean, we've got doctors and attorneys and secretaries and warehouse people and every walk of life come and work here. And they really are here for the right reasons. And those are the ones that stay.
Nikki Spoon would like to know how early you start training your actors. I mean, you said you train. I mean, is this before the season starts?
Before the season starts.
How long is it?
Our season is, roughly speaking, September 10th to the end of October. And we're just Friday, Saturday nights. So we're open basically 7 or 8 weeks, depending on the season. So 14 to 16 nights. Basically 6 to 8 weeks before we open, we do auditions, or casting calls is what we call it, because it's less about audition. If you show up and you want to haunt people, I'll teach you. I mean, pretty easy. And we have so many positions. If you've never done it before, I'll team you and find a place for you. But so we do it 6 to 8 weeks before we open is when we do all our casting calls, and we make all of our current crew come to casting calls every year because we want them to mingle with new people and find out what they liked and didn't like the previous season and what they want to do this year. And then once we've decided our crew, which, as you can imagine, is a jigsaw puzzle, trying to figure out who can act where, because you can't put a screamer in a scene that needs an aggressive person, right? So we jigsaw puzzle everything, Rubik's Cube it all. And about 2 weeks later, we start our actor training, and we do it Friday and Saturday nights. And really, we have kind of a system we put together. It's between 3 to 6 sessions, and we'll do them the same session 3 nights a week. The next week, we'll do the next session 3 or 4 nights a week so we can accommodate everyone's schedules. And we'll work out to teach them how to scare, teach them how to stalk people, teach them to not jump out and say boo, because that drives me batty. So, yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I mean, just look up haunter and haunt stuff in the dictionary, and there's Richard's face. He's like, hey. That's crazy.
I think next we're going to move along to Eric's photos.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really lucky to have Dan and Suzanne Plumpton of Artifact Images. They started with me right in my front yard taking photos, and they've just gotten better and better along the way dealing with our lighting and everything. So I can't thank them enough for all the awesome stuff they've had over the years. Like that's at our first farm. We call that Pumpkin Alley, going down the road. We like to use all real candles and the jack-lanterns and everything, and it makes for a really cool atmosphere.
That is really cool.
that's cool. We're all jealous.
Yeah.
Very jealous. Very jealous.
Yeah, that witch there was on a telephone pole in my front yard, and then when we moved to this farm, I just put her in a tree. I had to pull it up with a truck, but it was, it was pretty good to fill spaces that needed to be filled fast with these things.
How tall is that? It looks really tall.
You got to look at it. He's like, I filled a little space.
Yeah, it's huge.
But you see them little pumpkins?
Yeah, they're like,
they were like normal size, man.
Yeah, that's like 30 feet tall.
Elizabeth
Oh,
Davis
this is
would
cool.
like to know how many pumpkins are in Pumpkin Alley. You just talked about that.
About 300. That was years ago, that photo there, but now we have about 300.
Wow.
Tell us about this one here.
Those things are about 15 to 16 foot reapers that we made out of just a 2x4 frame, and then I took those skeletons. What were they called? The big ones that they made there. I can't remember what the heck they were called. They don't make them anymore. The Frankenbucky head, and I put magic sculpt on it and made the heads, and then the hands are all made out of the palms are like plywood with we cut pieces of electrical conduit, for the finger joints, and put electrical wire through that, and then magic sculpt on the pieces so they could be all movable and everything. And they've been out in the weather for years and years and years. And then I put liquid nails all over that, so it's totally weatherproof. They've been out there for years. We have to keep redressing them and stuff with the black and the burlap and stuff when that rots off. But
Right.
they've been.
In your YouTube channel, it shows how you do a lot of the stuff too. It's like really cool, man. I love watching your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of construction footage. Harry McCoy does a lot of that now. We'll mount GoPros while we're building a big building and do a time lapse, and then he'll cut it up, and it's awesome to look back at. That was years ago at our first farm. That thing there actually made it onto the cover of Haunt World, so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's just chicken wire and great stuff. These are old. When we didn't have much of a budget, I would get these slabs. They're the end cuts of the lumber, and they just look like they've got bark on one side and flat on the other. So I'm like, what can I make that costs me hardly any money? And so I would just make these frames and slab them up, and then cut these shapes out with a chainsaw, and then put the light and the fog in them, and they looked great.
How did you cut the slabs? That's what I was wondering.
Like this was with, what do you mean?
Yeah, how'd you take the trees and
Well, those came from a sawmill down the street. They're way, when you cut a beam, you've got this end piece that just gets thrown away or burned. What's going on with that? Yeah.
He's showing our messages to everybody.
Sorry.
So yeah, I was messaging about I can hear crickets.
Yeah, so
Don't mess with me, man.
I needed something that I could, these things are just waste, so I got all these for free. So I really only needed to pay for like the frame that went behind them, and then I used all these for fencing and everything, like I said, because we didn't have that much money. So this is one of the very first props we made at the new location, years ago. And right now, this is if you've seen the train, this is we tore this down and put the train in its place. So this lasted for probably 3 years, and then we ripped that down. And as our budget grew, we could do more elaborate things.
Tom Sadowski would like to know, Eric, what do you find the biggest challenge in doing a haunt in such a large scale?
There's so many challenges, each time you think you've run into, the biggest challenge, there's another one right around the corner. It's like, anytime, dealing with, the fire department, anytime you have to deal with that, it's all a matter of opinion, because there's really not a lot of code for what we're doing. So if one person has an opinion, like we had like a big mine shaft that went, it went, a couple hundred feet or whatever. And it was fine for a couple of years, but then someone else from the fire department came over and said, no, it's too long. You got to rip this down. So that's why we've taken even the mansion. The code in New Hampshire is I only get 160 square feet to play with undercover before I need a sprinkler system. So that mansion, even though it's huge, it's kind of like an optical illusion, because I made it like a big, huge hole in the roof as you first come in. So that doesn't go against my square footage, because it's open air. Like if a fire starts, the smoke can rise straight through the top. So as long as I have a hole in the roof, and then I have like 2 other sections that are undercover, and then I have another hole in the roof, I can get away with it. And like the giant circus tent, even though it's huge, I've got pieces of of canvas coming down that have slits in them, so that it's still considered open air. But there's a lot of challenges. I mean, just you know, fitting everything in. And, you know, you want to do all these great things, and you only have so much time. Like our crowd was growing and growing and growing. So the last year the trail was just too small to accommodate them all. So we undertook a massive trail change and had to knock down a bunch of buildings and then attempt to get them rebuilt in time, going the opposite direction to accommodate all the, you know, the extra people that we have, and not have them flowing out into the parking lot and everything. And we only got like some of it finished. Like there's a whole bunch of, like, see this tree right here that you're showing? That started to rot after like 6 years. So we cut all those down, and we made trees, but they're not even finished. So anything that we didn't get finished, we just kept in dark lighting, and when we pumped in all kinds of fog, you couldn't really even tell that something wasn't finished. So we're on like a 2-year plan of finishing all that stuff that we'd never finished last year. But now I'm very happy with the way the trail is going, and the throughput is going good again. It's not getting all clogged up, because there's a big difference between doing 5,000 people and 13, you know. So to keep the quality up, we needed to do this massive trail change, but it was a huge amount to bite off with just the amount of people that we have doing it. So like I said, there's a challenge around every corner. What, you know, once you think you got one licked, another one pops up that you hadn't even thought about.
What about weatherproofing your work? Doug Cox would like to know, what do you do for weatherproofing?
We, like the buildings, or
I mean, do you weatherproof all that, your large props or whatever you call them, you know?
Yeah, like
anything
like
outside,
the temporary monsters and stuff like that. Yeah, well, I'll put like liquid nails all over that. So I've got one of those big foam pumpkins. It's going on like 14 years out in the weather, you know, and it's just because I coated it in liquid nails. But yeah, we definitely have to weatherproof a lot of stuff, and some of the buildings that we make are only meant to last a certain amount of time. Like the first circus tent, I think we had up for 5 years, and not, you know, it's not really meant to last any longer than that, because people get sick of it. So I tear that down and, you know, rebuild it with new stuff. So we paint some things, we stain some things, and take some things in the you know, and cover them with tarps like during the winter. But
what about electric for your haunt? Do you use generators? Scary Mary would like to know.
No, we had, when we first came there, we had electrical you know, run underground into the woods with electrical panels, and then off of that we use big twist lock cables and temporary boxes that go, you know, that string all out into the woods. And the great thing about the, you know, the new LEDs and everything that are coming out, you know, we always used to be blowing breakers and had to be real careful because we're using halogen. You know, years ago I was using halogen lights because I like big, bold lighting to highlight the fog and all these big props. So we were using halogen lights with fill, you know, gels on them and everything. And now with the LED lights, it's using way less electricity. So we don't have that problem anymore. Our electrical is all really overdone because I've got all these fog machines out there and massive speakers and everything. So now that I can save all that power for the stuff that really draws, like we've got big subwoofers that have the, you know, the lightning and thunder sounds. So those draw, you know, a lot of power. So we only use generators for emergency. There's 4 generators stationed all around the haunt in case the power goes out. We can flip on all those generators, but as a rule, we have a good electrical system out there. I'm pretty psyched about it.
Pretty cool.
Are we ready with Richard's pictures?
Yep. Just caught me by surprise.
She does that all the time.
Every time.
So
All right.
I've got a variety of pictures from both 7th Street and from Asylum throughout here. A lot of it I've kind of really done, although we have some great scenes, but a lot of them are really kind of showing the actors. This is from a night where we do an extreme haunt at 7th Street. We kind of, on Sundays, which we're open Sundays through the month of October, we do special event where for an extra $5, we'll put the vest on you, and the actors know they can touch you. And we put them through a lot of extra training where they'll scream and make you get on the floor, push you up to a wall, or, you know, it's all done very safe touch, but it is touch. And if you don't want to be touched anymore, take the vest off.
That's kind of cool.
Or we'll strap people to a wheelchair and take them through the haunt in the wheelchair. So it gets a little more extreme. We call it the institutionalized challenge. So that's what this one's from. And it's just actors getting intensity and watching the people get quite a bit more scared at this point. The two girls here who went through this one actually work for me at Asylum and are great haunters. We took them to 7th Street and they did this extreme one, and they were in tears before they came out. It was phenomenal. So this is Travis. He's our partner. He runs the 7th Street haunt. Although the picture's small, I should have sent you a bigger one. But he's the one kind of the original started the brains of 7th Street haunt, and he's in it for the passion, and he's a hell of a guy. And we like to do lots of fun, creepy pictures with him.
It is pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's what we love. You know, here's one of our clowns from Asylum where we'll take and you know, getting them in the right character and the right scenes. He's an extreme hunter, but he goes all out, and he's been known. He actually ruined this costume on a mini bike one day when his tails got caught in the rear wheel.
Oh no!
Oh damn!
So let's see what other ones we have. Okay, so this one, I'll tell you about this one for a sec. This is part of one of our attractions called Zombie City. Now, Zombie City's different than a lot of haunted houses you go to in that it's what we call a theatrical haunt. As you go through, you have to interact with the cast and crew. So it's a lot more Broadway theater show than it is haunted house. I mean, you're going to get scared. Don't get me wrong. We've got a floor that'll drop out from underneath you, and there's bombs going off and grenades and fireballs. And but it's theatrical. So you'll have to get the briefcase from the guy in this scene who's been eaten by zombies to get the key to get into the next room to even get out. So we integrated a lot of intense theatrics and fake fights, and you know, you literally have actors being dragged off with blood splattering. You know, and you have to get on the bus, and the zombies are rocking the entire bus, and you have to get out the back door to make it to the next area.
Oh man, that's gotta be fun.
Yeah, so it's a different kind of haunt. Again, it's still scary, but a lot of people that hate the extreme scary haunts love Zombie City because it's so theatrical and immersive. It's almost like walking into an episode of The Walking Dead.
Nice.
That's what we like about it. So we do a zombie hunt. We call it zombie hunting. I know it's unique. But we took an old military bus, armed it with paintball guns all down the side, and drive through a whole urban city where we've got blown up cars and zombies coming out of the woodworks. And, you know, so there's a lot of live zombies running around and a whole bunch of targets to shoot at. And it's a 10 to 15 minute ride just to go, and they get to shoot live zombies. So, and then we've mounted black lights down the side and police lights on top of the bus. It's a lot of fun.
It does look like fun.
You know, all the actors that work in the haunt all season and make it to every shift get to go out and do zombie hunting after season, and then I get to be the zombie running around, so they get to shoot me.
Yeah, shoot the boss.
That's right.
Hey, Kathy, are we have any questions for Richard?
Oh yes. What from Doug Cox? What is your favorite scene?
What is my favorite scene? God, I have so many great scenes. Actually, this picture is probably one of my favorite, although you don't really get to see the cool part. But the year we had the haunt going that direction into that cabin, which is, you can tell in the picture there, we actually built a 4,000 square foot deck in a swamp. Now it's only 18 inches off the ground, but when you pump in fog in the night, it totally looks like an intense Louisiana bayou swamp. But that cabin is actually where we bit, I don't know, a couple 1,000 pounds of steel, and all of these telephone poles we literally put in by hand, and carried every 2x6 out because I didn't want to take out the trees that this whole path is in. But that floor in that cabin drops out. Now it only drops out about 3/4 of an inch or an inch. But at the last second, with lights and bombs and loud sound and zombies attacking through the windows and breaking into the doors, the floor literally drops out from underneath you, and it'll pretty much scare everyone who goes in it. That's probably one of my favorites.
Dude, that sounds awesome. Do you get a video of that?
I probably do, actually. I'll have to put up a preview of it because it's a fun one. I'll put it up as a private link and send it down to you, Diablo, so you can check it out.
Heck yeah.
Don't want to ruin it online for all
Right.
You know.
No, I'm good with that. That's like
What are the
Bill
pictures?
Barnder would like to know, what is your favorite medium to work with, Richard?
My favorite medium to work with?
Yes.
Something that I think the end result will make someone piss themselves. I don't really have a favorite medium because I'll get out there with a chainsaw on a telephone pole or a pile of 2x4s or plywood or vacuum form or clay and make some sculpt. Although I suck at sculpting, so that's really not my thing. I make the molds of it. We do a lot we're outdoor hunt as well at Asylum, so I do a lot with fiberglass, a lot with monster mud. I don't have a favorite. My goal is what is the end result? And whatever it takes to do there is what we end up using.
oh, here's a good pick.
There's a picture from the institutional challenge where we literally tie him to the wheelchair or bungee cord him to the wheelchair. And send
Oh,
him through the hood.
that's a guest.
Yeah, that's a guest.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, Kathy, let's see. I know we got tons of questions.
Oh my
trying
gosh.
to get them all in there so we can get rid of all these awesome prizes.
Doug Cox would like to know, Richard, do you guys do any haunts for Christmas, Valentine's, just Halloween?
We do a Christmas special. We actually do it on 2 different weekends. One weekend we do specifically designed for the 4 to 10-year-olds. So we do it, and donate money to charity out of it. And the customers get a little glow wand and they can shake it at the monsters who cower back in fear. And, Santa Claus got kidnapped, so they have to go through all the monsters to save Santa. And then the next weekend, it's a little more twisted and scary, not for kids. And then we donate money from that to charity. We're coming here through the next year. We'll do a Bloody Valentine's. We're going to do a scare break. We've got 3 special events coming up this summer between both haunts that we're going to do. And we do special events off season, so they're not part of our 7 weeks. At Asylum, we do something called Slenderman, a live action experience. And we actually set up the entire haunt, turn off all the lights, send customers through 2 people at a time with a flashlight. So it's kind of a backstage tour of the haunt, except if you see Slenderman, he'll kill you as you go. So obviously we can't really kill them, so they get an X on a piece of paper and get to keep going through and enjoy the experience, but it's pretty fun and creepy. So
Nikki,
yeah.
I have another question for you. Nikki Spoon would like to know, what is the hardest prop you've made and what is the easiest prop you've made?
Well, one of the hardest things we did, there's kind of 2 of them. 2 of the hardest ones we did was building our church and all the props that went in it, which really is a 20-foot carport, but then we built the bell tower on front and trying to build all the pews out in the middle of the woods and getting everything out to it, and putting our zip line in. We've got a 80-foot zip line where an actor flies in right over the heads of our customers. Those were a real bugger to put in.
Wow.
Really, hardest prop is doing things like 9 and 10-foot monsters out of fiberglass because it's so much work. It's size of the things that are the problem, which is why I envy Eric and the
For some of us,
it's for size.
All right. Well, speaking of Eric, we're going to move along to his photos now.
Okay. She did
Maybe.
so quick. She does so quick.
Doing my job.
We're trying to mess
You need
with
to
you
do
guys.
yours.
I know, you're right. You're right. I'm totally not worthy. Here you go.
Oh, I love this. This is the someone had taken down an old barn and is like, "Hey, you want this old wood?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it's perfect. It's all distressed and everything." I mean, we made the frame, out of new stuff, but face it with this, and that's been a couple different themes over the years. It was a nursery with like dolls in it, the first couple of years. Now it's like a body bag swinging in there, and when you go in there, it's pretty damn creepy. You even get the smell of like the old creosote, beams and stuff. Sometimes, it's pretty cool.
Those look cool.
I've got a question for you from Tim Thompson. What is the biggest prop you have, and do you plan on building something bigger than that?
I think that the new crematorium is probably, that's over 40 feet. And the circus tent is a little bit taller than that also, the new one. I don't know. We've got a massive pirate ship planned for next year.
I love pirates.
Yeah, so that's gonna be kind of like the mansion was. It'll take up our entire season just doing that one thing. So that's why we got to get a lot of stuff done this year so we can focus. Every few years we build something massive that we pour all our resources and time and money into to make a real showpiece.
Right.
So I'll have like 3 telephone poles sunk for the mass of that thing, and then I'll have to design it so that there's holes in the floor, and you'll walk in through a hole in the hull of it and all that. So that's going to be a fun project, but it's going to be very demanding. So we always have to do tons of research on every time we undertake something like this and make sure it looks authentic, and so that's going to take us a while. But I never want to plan too much because I don't know 5 years from now what's going to happen, if it will build something bigger or not. But we're pretty, the taller you go, the harder it is. Like, we were building that circus tent and the sun was beating down, and it's like, oh my God, this is nuts. You're crawling up, you're almost 50 feet in the air with this thing, and it gets to be pretty tough. So the things that we've bitten off this year, I'm excited about because they're smaller in scale, but they're a lot more detailed also. So I'm excited because we're making these. Well, it's going to be a 40-foot monster attached to a building. I don't know if you can see this. You're putting up pictures now, but I can show this thing here if you I don't know if you tell me when that's up.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can do it or not.
Put it more in front of you. There you go.
How's that? Can you see it?
Yeah.
There you go.
That there, if this monster here is going to be almost 40 feet tall, and there's a building that it's attached to, and I'm excited about this because we always want to try and push the envelope, and this is the first time we're going to attempt something this tall without the use of a telephone pole, because I've always, like this clown there that you're showing, we always used to have to rely on trees to, have ropes and have the arms come out. This time we'll be able to build this structure because it'll have 3 points of contact, and this building is mainly, it's going to be a ticket booth, but it's mainly to hold up this giant monster here. So I'm very excited. We're going to have 2 of those. So even though they're going to be huge, they're not like something like the circus tent where the whole structure was just so mind-boggling, to undertake.
That kind of brings us into Ken Honigman would like to know, do you get most of your supplies from recycles, or do you purchase it new for building?
Well, luckily we have a sawmill right down the road, and I'm able to that's why I build a scale model, so I can measure these things and figure out what kind of beams I need. He can cut me custom beams that are, up to 24 feet long. Like, say, for the big mansion there, we use, 24-foot long 6x6 beams, going straight up. So all that stuff is new. That's why, as you go along, I pump a ton of money back in, and as you year after year, you get as your attendance grows, you can afford to do more spectacular things. When we first started, we had hardly any money. That's why we were using just slabs, and now we can afford all these giant beams. And we spend a shitload of money in wood.
Lowe's loves us.
Right.
This is a cool picture.
This is cool. I love this because this was at my home haunt for years. I used
Really cool.
My grandfather had a homemade sawmill when I was a kid, and he had this big blade attached to a truck engine, and he sawed all this lumber, and it was sitting out there for years and years and years. And then when I started my home haunt, I built this thing in sections, and I would take it apart every year and put it together in my driveway and then store it, and now it's gone to the first location, and now it's at its permanent resting spot in the woods now. So I always have, it's a sentimental type piece because it's all my grandfather's hand sawed wood. So it's really cool.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
This was unique because it was our first giant 30-foot structure that we were trying to make a unique shape out of. You know, it's skinny and then it goes out and then back. So, you know, I made a kind of a rudimentary scale model of that. And then each year, like I said, we learned a lot from this structure, which enabled us to go into a lot more detail and complexity with the skull structure. But this was kind of a great learning experience because it was, you know, kind of a simple form, but it paved the way for a lot better stuff. But it's still impressive because it's so big, you know, and we painted it with glow-in-the-dark paint. So when we hit it with a black light and the fog is going, when people see it for the first time, it's like, wow, that thing looks cool.
This picture, the lighting, holy cow.
There's so many questions about lighting, you know,
I can
lots
see
of
why.
it. So if you want to touch a little bit as to.
Oh, yeah. Well, these I use very, very simple techniques. I'm still using the same techniques as I used in my home hunt. Like this thing here is just a frame, you know, made out of 2x4s and then slabbed, and then I cut out the face with a chainsaw, and then you have to put burlap behind this for the light to shine off of it. I call it it's like a giant luminary. So all it is a spotlight, you know, a stake light stuck in the ground, pointing at the burlap behind there, and then a fog machine in there. And then the light illuminates the fog, and that's how you get this crazy effect. And, you know, depending on the wind and everything, it's different every night. And that's why you can get some awesome effects, you know, just by lighting up the fog that's in this thing. And I call it creative fencing because this needed to be, you know, instead of having just a boring fence, I made this thing. And it's a lighting. It kills a lot of birds with one stone. It's a lighting source. It's something cool to look at. And it blocks, you know, one path from another. So I like doing stuff like that. That's very simple. Now this is the giant skull. That's like 36 feet tall, and this is a photo taken without the black light on it. So I mixed glow-in-the-dark paint and UV invisible fluorescent paint. So when you hit it with a black light during the show, it looks like whitish blue glowing, but then when we shut that light off, the whole thing was glowing, so it looked really, really cool.
Oh, that is cool. That is cool.
That's awesome.
And that's the model that I used to make that skull. You know, each one of these sections is a full story, 10 feet high. So the thing, you know, the thing is enormous. But I needed to make this model to figure out all the problems that I could encounter with this thing, you know, and how the heck we were going to build it. But it worked out great.
Yeah, that's crazy how you do that.
Linda Marshall would like to know what type of construction training did you have, or are you self-taught by trial and error?
It's all self-taught. I look at each thing like a giant sculpture. I don't have any you know, building background at all. When I first started this, I had absolutely no idea, but just learning over the years, you know, what will work and what won't. And I overbuild everything. You know, I don't want a hurricane to come through here and have to rebuild. So I use some pretty heavy duty stuff, and we're trying things that are so outlandish that I need to, you know, this thing is the skull, you know, you've got the main building, which you need to have, you know, as a counterweight so that the skull can stick way out. And I needed to make it looking down. So when you're, you know, close to it, you can still see the whole face. So that's why we built this whole building and back. And then now you can see the main beam starting to jut forward, like that, you know, will make the jaw and the cheekbones and the nose, like where this guy is on Tom Sadowski right here is way out front on the ladder. You know, that's like where the nose is right there. So, you know, we don't use any scaffolding or anything. We just build, you know, story after story. And then
He looks like he's just dangling there. On this one ladder.
One of the scariest things was the top of the hood, because it was, you know, 30 some odd feet in the air, and trying to connect those beams, that sucked big time.
Right.
It looks cool.
All right, we're going to move along to Richard, and while we get the pictures ready, Kathy, do you have any questions for Richard?
I do. from Anthony Lordigan. Do you act in your haunt, in your own haunt?
The answer is yes, although I really only get a couple of nights a year that I get a chance to do it. I'm regularly, something happens and an actor has to get pulled from a scene. I'll be the first one to put on a costume and cover the scene.
Sure.
But I work more the line entertainment because I end up at the front of show. Oh, that was a good picture. Wait, I just saw. Show that one again for a second.
I was gonna show it, but it ain't time yet. It ain't time
Not
yet.
time yet.
Right.
What is that a picture of?
This is about 3/4 of the people at a cast party. It's larger than a normal wedding when you have all the people in the same room. It's mind blowing. That's just we have to rent a hall just to put us all in it to have barbecue.
Dude, it looks like an airplane hangar.
It is. It is.
Oh.
That's the hall we rent. That's kind of up at the other end of the building from us. So we rent their hall out. They do bands and stuff here. But that's how many people it takes just to sit down and eat together.
Wow. Do you supply all the food? How much does that cost? That's got to be a lot of money.
You know what? It doesn't matter to me because it keeps our people happy.
Right.
And a lot of people, we do it potluck style. I usually get all the meat or pizza or, barbecuing, and then everyone brings chips and drinks. And
That's funny. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But so you were asking a question, and I just blonde it out.
No, you got too excited about your photo. That's what happened.
I know. I'm not putting the photos up. I'm okay.
All right, Kathy, what was that question again?
What do you mean?
But the one he was in the middle of answering?
If he acted in his own haunt.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, yeah. So I definitely get out and line entertain. I definitely get out and cover scenes. There's so much going on as we've grown bigger that just manipulating and watching the line cues and making sure the flows are right. When there's problems, go address it. When this thing isn't working, I have to run do it. When there's, some customer that needs to be dealt with in the haunt, I'm one of the first guys to run out and solve it. So I don't get as much acting time as I want. But everyone in my crew knows when Rich is getting in costume, let him do it or he's going to be a pain in the butt. So they all let me go do it. Everybody covers everything else. But never enough. On Sundays when I go over to the other haunt, because Asylum's not open, so I run over to 7th, I'm always acting or doing whatever they need me to because I don't have to worry about that stuff there. So,
what's your favorite character that you do?
So I'm less attached to characters. To me, give me any character, I'll do it. I'll put on a silicone mask. You want me to be a stumbling zombie, or you need me to be aggressive, or you need me to be, the cowering victim, the screamer. If I get interactions with people, I'm happy. It's more about watching them scare, stalking them, getting the screams, making them run. I don't care what I'm dressed like. If it works, it works.
Kathy, let's do one more question for Richard, and then we'll move along to his picture.
Mike Ross would like to know, how do you balance your business, haunts, family life? I mean, you're so busy. You said you don't sleep, and how do you do it?
Luckily for me, all of my family life is involved in the haunt, so I get to spend a lot of time with them because we're building stuff. How do I balance it? I don't know. I live by my iPhone calendar. I literally just schedule when I need to do things, and I survive because everything I do in my life, even my day job, I love what I do. I love haunting. I love prop making. I love going home to my family. I love going to my day job. And because I love everything I do, it doesn't feel like work to me. I get up every morning. It's like, oh, I get to play with computers. Then as soon as I get off work, it's like, oh, I'm going to go play with something bloody. And so it doesn't feel like work. So I just keep doing it.
Dude, that's awesome.
I think that actually keeps it fresh too. Having a day job, and then if the haunt was like 100%, I think it might get old after a while. But it's so cool to have the contrast. You know,
right.
I had to work on computers all day too, and then when I get to go out in the woods, I'm like, this is freaking cool,
Well, and if you work on computers, you're like me. It's like all day long, my haunt creativity is helping me figure out how to program or do something. And my programmer brain is immediately going, I'll bet I could engineer that to do. I wonder if we can build a building like, hey, let's try this.
Right.
We just do.
Sure you guys ain't from Texas?
Bill Borner would like to know, do you forget any actors' names? Richard?
Sometimes. I have a problem because we have so many. Some of the newest actors that I haven't worked with, You know, the first couple weeks, it's hard for me to get their names in my head. But as soon as I've gone through the scenes and watch them act and I work with them, or, you know, I've gone through and I see them all the time and I know they're in it for the right reasons and I learn what their families are like or what kind of car they drive, or I'm giving someone a ride home because they're having a bad day, or you get involved with them. We're involved with our whole crew. You know, I can't get as involved with everyone anymore because the crew has grown so much. But I work really hard to try and do that. And luckily, I have some incredible stage management and a great team. And when I walk up to someone who they immediately know I can't remember their name because I have that look, they go, Eric's having a bad day. It's like, oh, Greg, hey, Eric, come on, let's go spend some time. You know, and they help us through those things. And our crew learns that we're really in it for them. We're in it for the people. You know, if I didn't have a great crew, I wouldn't be hunting. If we didn't have great actors, I wouldn't do it. And so that to me is what it's about. So I work hard at that.
Great.
All right, let's move along into the next photo here. Tell us a little bit about this one.
A little bit about this one. I got to click back on Diablo again. So this is just one of our great actors, and he's actually, if I recall on this one, he's standing up on a wall, getting, you know, and groups are getting ready to come at him, and it's just fun. I can't. This picture is so small. I sent you horrible small ones.
You sent us thumbnails.
I did. Not on purpose. Look, I'm blonde, okay? I'm blonde. I'm not the genius, I'm blonde.
Dude, hey, the man doesn't get any sleep, man. He was on the
That's true.
fly. He was on the fly and sent me some pictures.
We're happy to have any
Go to another one. So this one might be hard to see on camera, but this is at Asylum. This is Exterminate, which is an attraction. It's an 18,000 square foot arena. We've got 25 buildings built in it, and we have a path created that we send groups of 5, 10, 12 through of customers, but they all get laser guns and get to shoot the zombies. So this was actually from a year ago. We change the theme in there every year, but it was a mutant attack that time, and they're going through shooting mutants like laser tag, except the mutants don't get guns.
Oh, so you get like the laser tag and the paintball.
We've got laser tag and paintball, and then the rest of the year in this arena, we actually run laser tag for customers to just play with amongst themselves. But for Halloween, we give it a very twisted version.
Oh man, I gotta come down there. you know, I know I can work it because of, like all all Margaret's family's from Kentucky. So if I say, "Oh, I want to go to Hunt, Kentucky," she'll be like, "Oh yeah, my cousin, my uncle, my cousin." You know, so I think I can work that.
You come up, you'll have some fun.
I'm good.
All right, what else you got in there? Oh, well, this is one of the. This is going to be the entrance of our new attraction we're putting in this year, which is, I might as well tell you guys now, it's yet unnamed. We're going to do a big contest giveaway to name the new haunt when we announce its exact themes and stuff. And then the winner of whoever helps pick the right name for it, we're going to do, you know, VIP treatment, limos, tickets to all the haunts, all those kind of things. So we're going to do that probably end of July, beginning of August, and come up with its new name. But that's going to be part of the entrance. We like creepy.
That's really cool.
This is one of the other owners of 7th Street, and he gets to act a whole lot more than I do, and he was doing some intense. This was actually before he even went into the haunt with a group, and he gets all intense with the actors and was kind of doing a guided tour this time. But he gets into character unlike many I've ever seen because he never gets out of character. Once he's in makeup and he walks out of the makeup room, he's in character all night long. It's phenomenal. Again, I did a lot of pictures of actors because to me, that's what our haunts are about, is the actors and the show. Obviously, we have great scenes. We work our hardest to do it, but it's about the actors.
Kelly Greger would like to know, what is your favorite scare moment in your haunt?
Favorite scare moment in the haunts? There's so many. With 7 attractions, that's a very tough thing to pick one. Yeah, it's like asking who your favorite child is when you have 5 kids. You can't just pick one.
True. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of
every night.
Every night, and they change depending on, you know, who's working it or who's sick or whatever. Well, you know, this is one of our carnival where we're doing fire breathing. It's great because people love it. Probably one of the scenes that caused the people to pee the most is my favorite on any given weekend.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I
knew you were going to talk about.
That question leads me to another question I saw scroll through that I want to answer because I think it's so cool. What was one of my most favorite moments of haunting? And And so I'm sure she'll be watching, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So we've got an actress who works for us. She started working for us when she was 10. And she turned 11 during season that year. She's now turning 16, right? She's been doing this for years with us. She gets more people to crap themselves every year of the year than any other actor we have out of 250.
Really?
And
Nice.
she's also type 1 diabetic. So she goes and takes breaks, does her insulin, checks herself, goes back to the scene to scare the next group. But one of my most favorite moments really was not even all of that. It was she showed up late one night. They drive 2 hours to work for us every weekend.
Holy cow.
And she works with her mom because we can't hire a 10-year-old, right? She works with her mom, and now we hire her. She's over 16. But she brought a friend to work with her, and who was 12 at the time. And they came into the garage we had set up, and she's like, "Where do you want us tonight? We're late." And I'm like, "I don't know. Put her in costume and go put her wherever you were, and you'll teach her." And I was running off to do something. My crew knows I'm always running somewhere. And I turned around like randomly because it was just the 3 of us in this room. And I turned around as they were turning around to walk to the scene, and I watched her name's Zephyr, I watched her put her arm around this other girl and said, and they're both like 4 foot tall, right? They're young, little, adorable girls. She put her arm around this other girl, and she's like, "Come on, I'm going to go show you how to stalk people." And they walked out into the woods to go stalk me. And I was like, "Oh, that's the best thing."
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
All right, you started telling us about this one. If you want to elaborate a little more, this is a cool picture.
This is actually, this stage is right in the middle of our line queue. So if you can picture the bottom of the stairs, all the line queue to start, all the attractions at Asylum are wrapped around it. And this stage for obvious safety, right? Fire breathers up on stage. But they do fire breathing shows. And the other girls, we've got jugglers, we've got knife throwers there. I think the contortionist is in this picture. And they're literally bending over and putting them in buckets. And we try and do shows every 10, 15 minutes all night long and just rotate through all the carny workers. And there's up the line, there's carnival games and a whole midway setup. But I love watching the fire breathers and everyone in line going, "Ooh, ah."
I'm just amazed with all the people that you find. It's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Kathy.
No, we like freaky people.
Yeah, awesome.
Sharon Vino has a question. Is it possible to go through all of your attractions in one night at Asylum Haunts?
The answer is yes. The fastest you can get through everything, if there were 0 lines, is about 2 hours. Wow. If you come on the busiest night of the year and you show up at 11 p.m. at the busiest hour of the year, not so much. You're not going to get through everything. You'll get through 1 or 2 things.
So do you close at a certain point, or do you sell the last ticket and let them go all the way through?
We sell the last ticket at 2 a.m. So we're open. We open the doors at 8 p.m. when it gets dark, and we stay open, and we sell tickets till 2. If we've got people in line, we want them to go through. But under the guise of if you show up at 1:59 and it takes a minimum of 2 hours to get through everything, you're not going to be there till 4 a.m.
Right.
I'll tell you to come back the next weekend. We generally end up closing the doors by 2:30, 2:45, and then
dude, that's some
people come through and get out of there. Yeah,
that's some serious haunting, man. That's serious haunting. That's a party night for me. 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Come on.
Keep going.
All right, looks like we have another photo up here.
Yeah, another actor at 7th Street who just loves to mess with people. Just a creepy photo. Same thing, another creepy photo at 7th Street. It's random things coming out of nowhere, and the actors make the scenes, and that's, to me, is what it's about.
He does have like a creepy smile.
He does. And he's got the eye, the face, everything. Oh yeah,
right.
5 or 6.
I mean, it's like, okay, I get the bad blood and stuff, but just his look on his face is creepy to me. It's like.
So what's this scene that he's in?
I don't remember. That one was like 2 years ago. Let's see if I can. I sent a small picture because I'm an idiot. I can't tell. Can't remember. Don't remember. The scenes change every year.
Moving on.
All right, here's a big picture.
That's one's a big picture from above, but that is an overhead view of one of the fight scenes that occur in Zombie City that year. Zombie City is interesting. We kind of change things every year. Okay, Zombie City, actually, this will be its 6th season, I guess. And if you've been coming from the beginning, every year there's a new story that appended the previous story. But every year stands on its own, right? The story just kind of kept continuing. you know, at 7th Street, every haunt the story changes and it grows and the scenes get rearranged. In Darkness Falls, it's the same theme, you know, when fear comes after dark. So we're going after random fears, but we change scenes every year, both out of necessity, because we have to break down half the haunt and put it back up, and the fact that I don't want it to get stagnant. It's kind of hard to change zombie hunting with a bus, but so that's kind of the same every year. But we change the zombies, we change the path. We're big on changing. So again, actor-driven, the story, the livelihood of the haunt is it gets a life of its own. Zombie City, actually, the actors go send mail to each other because there's mailboxes in the facade city. So the actors, when in between groups, write messages to each other and deliver them to the other mailbox. Then after the group, they go check the mailbox and read the message and respond back. It's kind of entertaining.
All right, last one here.
Sure. This is at 7th Street, and it's a Crazy Nurse. And we'll usually, on an extreme night, we'll put an actor in the gurney and roll him through a couple scenes before we let him up again. Or we'll put, an actor in there and mess with them and just try and get creepy.
Very
Awesome. All right, Kathy, do we have any questions for Eric while we get his photos ready?
Cindy Wortman would like to know, is there any customer reaction that especially stands out for you or a favorite?
Yeah, there was, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, there was a group of 5 middle-aged women all locked arm in arm, and I run the chainsaw, and I'm running around with the chainsaw all night, so I just happened to come in the body bag room. The things are swinging and the strobe lights, so you can barely even see where to go when you get in there. It's very disorienting. So I'm in the corner, and these 5 women come in, and they were having a blast, and they started all singing in unison, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
Right in their face, and I fired up the chainsaw, and it was just freaking bedlam. And they were hitting the walls, and they were bouncing off the bodies were swinging back and forth. It looked like a pinball machine. It was just really awesome.
Hey, Eric, that I can use. You should never said that.
Yeah, that was great. I love that. Here's a picture of you can see the model and then the skull in the background, being built.
God, that's awesome.
It is awesome. It builds like a little miniature and then.
Right.
Trish Redding has a question for you, Eric. You won the Great Fright Contest 2 years ago. What was your biggest splurge with the prize money?
Oh, when they contacted us to do that, I said the only way we're doing that is if we win, that we're going to donate the entire amount to our charity, because I knew it was going to be a massive undertaking. They filmed so early. And we were in the middle of already these big projects. We were in the middle of building the train, in the middle of building the dragon. And those things weren't going to be finished for, August, the end of August, the beginning of September. I didn't even know if I was going to have pumpkins. So I'm like, in order to get everybody over here and put in extra effort to do this thing, if we went, we had no idea who was going to be on that or anything. Everything was all kept secret. We had absolutely no idea. So I'm like, you know what, we'll go for it if they want us to do it, and we'll donate the whole amount to the animal shelter. And the cool thing is they can really use the money. They're trying to build a new shelter, and so that whole donation went to that building of the new shelter. So we're gonna actually get to name the cat playroom after Haunted Overload. There'll be a little plaque, so that was kind of cool. So that was our biggest splurge.
That's really cool.
Very neat.
Yeah. It was pretty cool that everybody we as soon as we saw that and watched it, we snatched you guys up and had you on the Hunters Hangout show. All the people that were on it.
I was bumming because they cut that whole part out. When they told us we wanted everything, they sprung it on us. It was pretty surprising. And we're like, we're gonna donate this all to charity, and that got all chopped off. So no one really even knew.
Yeah, everybody was saying how they chopped everything up. It was like they were there for 3-4 days and chopped it down to 15 minutes.
Well, it was funny. The producer had warned me. He goes, "You're going to hate this when it hits TV because 90% of this is going to be on the cutting room floor." So I already had kind of in my mind that was going to happen. But yeah, it was kind of tough, doing that grueling schedule, filming all that stuff and different scenarios and storylines, and then having it all, for nothing, But it was awesome to win, and it was an incredible experience. Even if we didn't win, I would have still done it just for the experience and, you know, getting everyone together and you know, it was pretty awesome. But a weird byproduct of that is that we all got burnt out because it was weeks before we opened when the filming was wrapped up. I think they told us we won on like September 15th, and we don't open till like the middle of October. So it was hard to get back up and, you know, finish the big projects that we had started and stuff. So it was kind of funny.
All right, tell us about this photo here.
Oh, this is you know, more, you know, once we got the framework done for the, you know, to hold the face of the skull, then we took slabs and just, you know, cut them with a chainsaw and, you know, just nailed them up there one by one with a nail gun. And then this frame that goes along that makes the hood, that we use big, you know, giant rolls of construction. It's called road mat. It's big black, you know, heavy duty cloth that goes under, you know, the asphalt. And that stuff's been out there for years to cover this thing. And then we painted it, like I said, with the glow in the dark paint. And when you hit a big black light on it, the thing looks pretty awesome. It's very hard to tell the scale of this thing in photos.
I was just looking at the ladder. I can tell.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
That's I think a 40-foot ladder. The thing is it's pretty enormous. But when you're sitting there and looking up at it, it looks really cool. But it's very hard to get the scale of it.
It's another one. Again, the lighting is just awesome.
Yeah, we like to do a lot with lighting and fog and like that. You know, the fog just makes it, you know, when you pump in that much fog, it just, any light that is in the area makes it. That's why on all my fences I put, you know, big spaces so that the light can shine through and make crazy beams and, you know, light the scene that's, you know, in the next, you can have one light in a scene and it will bleed through onto the next.
Bill Bornder has a question for you. Eric, after conquering the outdoor haunts, do you picture an indoor haunt easier or more challenging?
To me, I mean, I've always loved doing outdoor haunts. To me, I think an indoor haunt would be extremely challenging, just because I'm used to doing all this stuff outdoors. I would have a really hard time doing an indoor one and not being able to create these massive structures. And I utilize the natural terrain, you know, to its best advantage. So I'll stand back and be like, I want this thing like 100 feet away. So as you're coming up to it, you get all this, you know, these experiences leading up to the thing. That's how we get a lot of our scares. People looking up at these giant props, kind of mesmerized, and you can just sneak up and be right, you know, alongside of them, and they turn, and you can get them really easily. So I think an indoor haunt with all the fire regulations and everything else would be extremely challenging for me. So I don't think I will ever do it. I mean, I just love to do this in the outdoors.
All right. What's this picture here?
Oh, that's the night we won that ABC contest. There, they presented us with this trophy, and Artifact Images was there with the camera, and this was like taken in a split second. They gave it to us, and we just lined up. It wasn't, you know, it was literally spur of the moment, and I was psyched that it came out that good.
Turned out great.
That fast, you know, because it was weird because, you know, the normal moment happened where they surprised us all and everything, and then we had to do it like 5 more times, and by the fifth time, it's like all the energy has gone out. You can't act so surprised anymore, you know. So this was taken right after the first take, you know, so it was pretty awesome. Oh, this thing here I love because a lot of the props I make is out of necessity. I needed a bridge to get up over this barrier into the haunt. You know, there's a big hill. And so I wanted to make, we had never made a sculpture. This thing's like 50 feet long. It's like a Komodo dragon type of thing. And where that blue ladder is, you actually enter, and it's a bridge going up through the body, and then you come out onto the top of the hill. So this is right, you know, a week or two before opening, painting this thing, and then with the base coat of black.
That's crazy. Do you ever have people just don't want to leave the hunt and just like wander on through and wait for it to close down and wander around?
We have a thing that's called Fright Night Light, where they can come and wander at their leisure. They can be there for hours. So yeah, we have people that on nights like that will wander around for hours. But this was a pretty big challenge, just trying to figure out the shape of this thing and, you know, how it would work. And it's hard. You can't see the tail, but the tail goes way up on the hill and wraps around. And then when we painted it with a glow-in-the-dark paint, it glows kind of green at night. So this is the big train, elevated train that we were in the process of making.
Yeah, I love that train, man.
Yeah, that came out really, really cool. Is Tom Sadowski. He was you know, he carved a lot of the wheels out of foam, and did a lot of the detailing on this thing here. We're putting the faceplate on the thing there, so you actually go underneath of this thing. Now you go underneath of the trestle, and I've got this big, huge subwoofer. You know, we have custom sounds made of this, you know, steam engine. It sounds really cool.
Looks really cool too.
Yeah, so I carved this in my front yard, just like I used to do at my home haunt, and then brought it over there in the truck, and then we mounted it on the front.
Mike Ross would like to know, how do you clear the haunt at the end of the night?
Well, it's pretty easy. We have a since we don't have that big of a space for parking, the way we sell tickets is 100% online timed ticketing. There's no getting in, you know, maybe we'll sell a few if we have capacity on the slower nights, but you're really taking a chance. So we have these timed ticketing blocks, and you know, we sell 250 each, you know, half hour. And so we know, like, at the end of the show, there's no more people coming. They're not going to be filtering in. So we know, like, the person at the end of the line with the red, you know, jacket on, we follow them all the way through the haunt, and the stage manager gets behind the last person, and out they go. And that's it.
And Darren Smith would like to know, how many actors do you have working at once?
It fluctuates between 50 and 80. You know, some nights, you know, on a Sunday night or a Thursday night, we get less, you know, but we can put on a good show still with 50. But when there's 80, obviously it's you know, much better, and, you know, high, you know, a lot more fun with that many. But it's sometimes, you know, even though we've had a lighter night with actors, sometimes the crowd is different every night, and sometimes it just works out really good that way. You know, I'd prefer to have a full cast every single night, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. You know, people start getting sick during the middle of the season and stuff like that, you know, so.
The bird flu.
You're right.
The bird flu.
It's hard, you know, especially we had tons and tons of rain this year. There was one night where it was torrential downpours for 4 solid hours. And since we're time ticketing advanced, we still had a packed house, and we trained our audience. They just come in raincoats and umbrellas. But that was a tough night to get through, let me tell you.
Tell us about this here. This is cool.
Yeah, this is we wanted something really with a lot of detail. Because up until this point, we didn't have the budget for something like this. This took us years to save the money to, you know, make something like this. So we were making, you know, stuff like the skull and other organic looking things. So this was a big challenge because it had to look like a Victorian mansion. So what I did was I took pictures. There's a lot of Victorian mansions around my town. I took different photos and in Photoshop put them all together so that it wouldn't look like, you know, like the Bates, you know, house or whatever. I wanted elements of different haunted mansions that I had seen. You know, there's some on Haunt World that have these same windows and you know, but it's a very unique structure. You won't see this, you know, anywhere with all these exact features, because I kind of piecemealed and made a mock-up in Photoshop so that it would look unique to Haunted Overload. And then I made the scale model for it, and then we just started building as soon as the snow melted, and it took us right up until, you know, opening day to finish this thing, pretty much. Because we had to do the inside too. You know, that was the first time we had to tackle the interior.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is, you know, going over to the farm, and, you know, so that's with all the lighting and everything. So
Wow.
it looks pretty cool with that. This thing made the cover of Haunt World, so
That looks fake. It looks
crazy.
fake.
My photographers are so awesome that they take these long exposures and they capture everything. It just looks, their photography is phenomenal. So a lot of times I worry that people are going to see these photos and then come to the haunt and be like, oh, it doesn't look as good.
It's
But
also good. It's also
you
we actually steal some of his like stuff for our intro in case you guys haven't noticed.
But I love making it look, as Halloweeny as possible, using all these, we have tons of volunteers come over for pumpkin carving day. We have to do like 3 rounds of pumpkin carving to get through the season because they rot after a week and everything. And that's another picture of the mansion.
A lot of questions as to how many fog machines you have.
Oh man, a ton. To get, let's see, I would say probably like 10 to 15 all spread out, because we're starting to get much bigger ones, and but it's hard because sometimes they'll be, if you have a too big of a one, so there's that picture, there's the mock-up on the floor, and there's the scale model, and we.
How do you even do that, man? That makes me sick. It makes me sick that you do that and then build it.
Well, that's the only way I know how to build it. Like I say, I treat everything like a sculpture. So, it has to be, incredibly strong like a building, but I'm basically building shapes out of all these beams, and, there's no, like the windows fake, it's basically built like a water tower with big, or a roller coaster with big giant beams, and then X braces all around. So it's incredibly, incredibly strong. And then, I made it, there's a tree growing up through one section. And so we were pretty proud of that, that was, it had to look like,
awesome.
A building.
Very, very cool. Kathy, we're going to move along to some questions now.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for Richard?
Oh, yes. I got some questions.
We'll just kind of alternate back and forth here.
Eric's got a lot of pictures.
Well, you told me too, like 30 pictures ago. They're great, though. I can look at them all night.
I've been trying to scroll too fast, but
I have a question. I have a question for Richard. We had asked Eric how he shuts his haunt down for the night. How do you shut your haunt down for the night? I mean, that's got to be a little tricky, no?
It's a challenge, and all the haunts basically. The last group gets followed by our stage managers. And so the stage managers are letting the actors go, and they're walking backwards toward the front while the last group of customers is walking through the haunt.
Yeah, that's exactly how we do it.
Yeah, and we do it that way. And it just takes a bunch of coordination and walkie-talkies and watching them all. And then once the stage managers have let all the actors go, one of them has to go make another round and turn off everything that the actors forgot to turn off. And it's just a show, and pretty much we go until we make sure all the cars out of the parking lot are gone.
Right.
Awesome. All right. I know you have more. There's tons of questions out there.
Oh my gosh. Gary Mary would like to know, do you use custom sounds?
Oh, yes.
And what do you use for, what are you using for that?
A lot of sounds we create, or one of our crew's going to make, or we're, in some cases buying audio from a lot of people you've seen at Transworld or the other vendors that exist. We don't do any, we don't have a subscription to BMG that we can go play any music we want. We'll try and custom do all of our audio and all our scenes so it fits the theme, or it feels right, or we bought the track from Gorgolor's Music Library or Poison Props or Sinister Sounds, or we want the music to fit the theme. At 7th Street, we actually have people who create and master the music for the entire haunt, scene by scene by scene, to get the right feeling and the right scare and the right amount of bass or the right amount of creepy with the screams in the middle. So audio is very important to create the theme. Scents are very good because it helps immerse people. Throw a bunch of good actors in it, and you got a winner.
Right.
So you use scents in your fog machines?
We don't use scents in our fog machines. We use them just in the scene.
Okay.
And spray a little in the scene, and the whole scene smells like bloody corpse, or whatever it is. Or if there's an actor that has been problematic and won't stay in their scene because they don't like the smell, they might get squirted with it. So all of those things are important. So yeah.
Eric, how about you? Do you use custom sounds?
Oh yeah, we use a company called Shadow Symphony, and we go back and forth with them, and I'll give him a description of what I want, and we'll go back and forth. He'll come up with one, and I'll make changes, and like Richard was saying, the when he sends me the demo, I'll try it and on a big subwoofer, and I'm like, crank the bass up, more, because like for the train, I wanted the bass like really heavy, so it was I got to be careful not to blow the subwoofers, but when you get when you get the sound right, there's nothing that can top it, because it just, you hear the thing before you even get to the scene, and it's like, wow, what the hell is going on, so it's I love getting custom sound effects made to each scene is really key.
Awesome. Go for it, Kathy.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
He's just like, oh.
Question for Richard. How many gallons of blood do you use in your haunts? You must have a lot of blood in there, huh?
How many gallons of blood do we use?
Do you use a lot of blood?
A week or a month or a season?
Really?
I'd say per season, we probably go through 10 gallons of blood on actors, and we'll go through another 15 to 20 or 25 gallons worth of fake blood for scenes. For props,
you guys make your own stuff, right?
We make our own bloods because we like that really wet blood, and we couldn't find the right stuff that was right flexible, so we make our own. For blood on actors, we've got to be, it's tough to do because we're outdoor. I can't just do the cool corn syrup blood we've all made for something, because otherwise next week it's full of ants and bugs, which now is a new problem.
Right.
So, it's mixing Afro Sheen and trying to figure out the right things that are, food free to come up with the right shades of color. So we go through a lot, but we don't do any of the corn syrup because it's problematic.
Sure.
But we've got one actor, our chainsaw guy, who will kill a bottle, almost a gallon a weekend if we let him and didn't take it from him, and he just pours it over his head and drenches himself. So we have to take the bottles away from him. He sneaks into the costume pod or the makeup pod, and we'll just take a gallon and start walking away with it. We have to stop him.
Great.
Okay, Kathy, anything for Eric?
Yes. Question from Doug Cox. What is the single most important thing you have learned since turning pro hunter, Eric?
Single most important thing that I've learned. Oh man, the single. Just yeah, oh boy.
I know.
Tough one, man.
I'm glad you got it.
What's that?
I'm glad he got the question. Not me.
Sorry.
We could ask you next.
Oh, okay.
There's just so many. It's hard. It's incredibly tough to pick one. But if I'll just pick one, it's working with all the different types of personalities that take to run this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I love to give the actors a huge degree of flexibility. We'll have the actors come over and take a tour and actually let them pick the spot that they like to work in. And a lot of times during the season, they'll help build their own scene, and it gets them really involved in it. And so we play to, everybody's strengths. Like some people are great at building and some people are good at organization. And I'm not going to, say, get up there and build that if that's not their strength, and they'd be very discouraged. So I like to pick out people's strengths and really let them exploit those. But it's pretty much, I think the a very difficult thing is working with all the different types of personalities and making it all a cohesive unit. But it's hard to pick one. I mean, because you're learning every day. I mean, you're learning every single day. So that's almost impossible because you don't know what the next day is going to bring. But since it happened to me once, losing my location, it's always in the back of my mind that the rug could be pulled out from under me like that. So I always take each year like it could be my last, and just try to make this the best season possible, and always keep improving on every single aspect. I never thought I would get to the point where we stopped advertising. I was always for the first few years, oh my God, you know, we got to spend all this money on advertising, and how are we going to get more people here? And now the word of mouth is such, and to keep the quality, it's like, oh my God, just stop all the advertising. Cause you know, so I never thought that I would run into that problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, you know, it's different all the time. You know, next year I'll probably run into something else that I hadn't thought of, you know.
Bruce Janger would like to know, what made you want to build your props on such a large scale?
That came out of necessity. Like I said, in my home hunt, I had an extremely small front yard, and the only way to make something cool was to build up. And, you know, I was always, you know, at my parents' house and coming up, you know, growing up building scarecrows. So I figured the next thing to do was just build a big scarecrow, and then a bigger scarecrow, and then an even bigger scarecrow. And they got such good reactions from people that I just kept, I got kind of pigeonholed into that, you know, oh, this is the guy with the big props, you know, now I'll make a big witch, and I'll make a big clown, and I'll make a big ghost. And, you know, just trying to each year make things lighter and, you know, easier to put together. You know, some of these monsters in the beginning were taking us literally like 3 days to put one up, because they're, you know, I've got all these block and tackles, you know, pulling it up the pole, and, you know, it's stuffing these things with, on ladders with corn stalks and all kinds of crazy stuff. So each year I'm like, okay, how can I make this thing lighter? How can it, you know, be, you know, more weather resistant or weatherproof for the wind and all this stuff. So it's just, and then when we got a permanent location, it's like these things are taking us so long to put up and take down for the winter that I'm like, that's when I started building massive things out of wood. So even though it would take us a long time to build, okay, now we don't have to build that next year. You know what I mean? It's there, and it's staying there for a number of years. So that's why we've kind of changed our strategy. But now I'm excited to take these monsters into the next level without the telephone poles, and making them higher and in more dynamic poses. Because with the telephone pole, you can only it just looks very static, and it's only really standing straight up. But not using a telephone pole this year, I can make them into better poses. You know, I'm gonna have to probably build scaffolding to get to the arms and the hands and everything. But I'm really excited to take on that challenge and do something that's never been done, and see how it comes out. But I can already see in my mind it's gonna come out pretty awesome.
Anthony Lordigan would like to know, what do you do when you're not haunting?
Let's start with Richard on this one, and we can come back to you.
What do I do when I'm not hunting?
Yeah.
I sleep.
Like what, 5 hours though?
Yeah,
only you said.
Only 5.
I pretty much haunt year round, in that I take a week off at the end of season once we packed everything up, mostly because I need to sleep. And then I take a week off in spring, but like I'm actually Memorial Day weekend, I go away from everybody and turn my cell phone off, because the rest of the year I don't stop, because I love it. It's just keep going.
That's awesome. All right, Eric, how about you?
Yeah, for the first few years it was just nonstop. Now, I mean, I still do like the web page design, you know, and flyers and stuff like that. So like during the winter, I'm doing that, and then I'm making the mock-ups on the weekend, and then the scale models. So it's every day I'm doing something to do with haunt. But you know, my normal 9-to-5 job is I'm a retouch artist for Garnet Hill, a catalog company. So I retouch the models and the clothing, make them look good. So I enjoy that also. That was my main career before I, you know, started this haunt thing. I mean, I've always been doing haunting, you know, home haunts, you know, growing up, but so it's like, you know, I'm always doing something with it, but it's tapered off a little bit, because now that we've got the haunt running really smooth and we're not moving locations, and it's not so crazy. So now to try and maintain a little bit of more of a balance, and, you know, go out on you know, nights out to dinner and stuff like that, I'll do like a schedule. You know, I'll be like Tuesday nights and Thursday nights are haunt night, and Saturdays, and then I can go out, you know, Saturday night, Sunday night, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if I want. But then I just try and fit in as much haunt stuff in the middle of that as I can.
I can't wait to start.
All right, Kathy, fire away.
Nikki Spoon would like to know, is there a haunt that you wish you could go through?
Richard.
Oh, if only my schedule would allow it, I would go down to Dark Hour and spend time oogling over Alan Hopps's stuff. I haven't been to Dark Hour yet. I've been to literally hundreds of other haunts around before I was haunting, and now I get to manage to go to 3 or 4 a year because they're open on Thursday. Let's go. We gotta go. They're open Thursday. Really, I just like seeing everyone's haunts. You know, on Halloween night, like last year, Halloween was a Tuesday, and so our haunt wasn't open. First thing we did was get in the car and drove to all the home haunts we could find in town and want to go through them. I'm as excited about a home haunter who's passionate about it as I am the quote unquote top haunt in the country.
Here, man. Yeah.
Because it's the passion in the people. So, yeah. Last year, I only got to go to 3 haunts, and 2 of them were home haunts. So,
Awesome.
good.
Great.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, that's the one drawback of having your own haunt is not being able to. I haven't been to a hell of a lot of haunts. I think I'd probably like to see Universal Horror Nights. The spectacle and everything looks pretty cool to me. And I saw a seminar at one of my first Trans Worlds, and that really impressed me. At least just the scope and everything of what they're doing. But yeah, there's tons of haunts around there. I'd love to go to Netherworld. I've never been there. 13th Gate, I'd love to go to. I've never been to those. So there's a lot of top haunts that I'd love to go to, but just can't do it.
They're like, God, just can't do it, man.
Headless
So
Horseman.
Terry Treffry would like to know, how long does it take from concept to completion to build one of your projects?
Who's
it-
that?
For everybody, or?
It could be for either or.
Okay, well, let's start with Richard.
From concept to completion, sometimes is 3 very long days and a lot of Red Bull. Sometimes it's 3 to 4 months and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It kind of depends on what weird concept it is. If it's building a helicopter to go on top of a semi and build all the animatronics to shoot the guns and set up all the wires and all of that, it takes a whole lot longer than, hey, I've got an idea. And my entire crew goes, uh-oh. and we go build something crazy, or sometimes it's the great plan we had. You get 10 minutes into it and you're like, this isn't going to work. And you just have to revamp it and go with what it is and see what comes out of it with the pile of wood you got sitting there.
Right.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, that's a hard one to answer. There's different levels of projects. Something like the Skull can take us an entire season of weekends. But a lot of times I'll love the things that come together real fast and you get an incredible look or scare, or just a scene looks really great that you weren't really anticipating. Like I was telling you about that nursery where all of a sudden this trailer full of distressed wood shows up, and it's like, oh my God, what can we build out of that? Let's just build this dilapidated barn. And we just built it in a couple days, and it's one of my favorite structures. Going in it and looking from the outside, all the different angles. And that thing, we had no scale model or anything. We just built it, and so I like stuff like that. But yeah, that's almost impossible to answer because some of these things, the more like the circus tent, like look at this scale model of the circus tent. It's like this thing took forever to build just a model of it, and it all comes apart, so we can build the different levels and decks and all this crap. So when you're building something like that, it's going to take a long time. But something like a scarecrow is not going to take that long, but it still looks cool. Like if I want to do a queue line, instead of building just 1 or 2 scarecrows, we'll do like 10 and look at the whole thing as a scene. So you come up on it and it looks like this gigantic scene, but it's really just 10 scarecrows with pumpkins on their heads, all strategically placed, but it looks like an enormous scene, but we did it in one night, you know what I mean? I mean, we had the scarecrows built beforehand, but when all of a sudden that thing goes up, it's like, wow, this thing looks incredible. And it came together in a night. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I'd be that one person just wandering around, like all stupid and all like, like just walking around all night.
Well, thank you guys so much. We have a ton of prizes to give away, so we have to get
Good.
on that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
I feel like we could go at least another hour, but
yeah, we probably could.
we could.
There are so many questions. We could go till midnight.
Right. Kathy, you got the prize winners?
I do.
All right.
Okay. The Froggy's Fog goes to Sharon Vino. The FFX mask goes to Tom Sadowski.
Whoa.
The Fright Props goes to Matthew Miller.
They took our sound effects away, so you get the whistle and the clap.
Sinful Audio goes to Ken Honigman. Sam Haynes, Something Wicked goes to Doyle Higgins Sr.
Bulldozer.
The Graphics goes to Mary Fettner. And it says contact Julie by Friday to claim your prizes. Is that it, or do we have more prizes?
No, you got. I text you.
Okay. Got everybody.
I did that.
Woohoo.
There's 4 more.
4 more. Okay, I got it.
I'll just sit here and clap.
I got it. Okay, for the evil Olive Sneaky Fingers 2, we have Doug Cox. Right?
Yeah. You picked
The
the
rotting pumpkin clown mask goes to Linda Marshall. The anarchist Abraham, the David Aces Faces, goes to Nikki Spoon. The Morbid Bear from Morbid Bear Entertainment goes to Michael Higgins.
All right. Man, that was a lot of prizes. Man.
That was
a lot of prizes. Yeah.
Right. We want to thank everybody. We definitely want to thank the guests for coming on. They had tons of information. It's like they're like, oh, we only got 2 people on. I'm like, trust me, these 2 guys can talk for days on what people want to hear. So we want to thank you guys for coming on and being a part of the season finale. We want to thank all our sponsors. Make sure you guys go to them first for all your hunt needs, and thank you for everybody else that donates stuff. And don't forget about the Fright Prop Challenge. You have till June 1st to turn in your prop submission for tons of prize, $100 in the prizes and stuff. And we want to thank everybody, and we will see you guys next season. That'll be next February. We're going to start up again. And thank you everybody for coming on, and thank you for Jackie and Kathy for coming on and helping my ass out.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. It's been great.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Thank you.